In tonight's edition, the long-awaited planning levels are released, the official 189 invitation round results, and international students to lose their right to a face-to-face hearing at the ART. Hi, I'm Karl Konrad and welcome to our weekly edition of Australian Immigration News. This program is proudly brought to you by Australian Immigration Law Services, the company I founded right here in the heart of Sydney some 26 years ago. The planning levels are finally out, with the total number that we already knew set at 185,000. The breakdown between the visa subclasses are the same as last year. 44,000 for the employer-sponsored 186 visa, 16,900 for the skilled independent 189 visa, 33,000 for the regional visas, which include the 491, 494 and some of the old 187 visas still floating around out there. 33,000 for the state territory sponsored 190 visa, 1,100 for the business investment visas, 4,300 for the national innovation visa, which is really the same old 858 subclass, which includes some of the old distinguished talent and global talent backlogs. 40,500 for partner visas, 8,500 for the various PR parent visas, 3,000 for the child visas, and for the other family visas at 500, and for the special eligibility program 300. So there you go, 185,000 places now divided up for everyone to see. So what was the purpose of the delay, since we have exactly the same result as last year? It's not as if we were requesting the Epstein files. The lack of transparency of these numbers only stirred up uncertainty, which played directly into the hands of anti-immigration conspiracy theorists. And what also does not help is the lack of attention we have from the Immigration Minister, leaving it to other Labor ministers to face the media without actually understanding what's going on. Of course, the media themselves are generally clueless on migration matters. And here's a prime example from this week's Channel 9's Today program.
We're joined by Health Minister Mark Butler from Canberra. Mark, good morning to you. Nice to see you this morning.
Thanks,
let's clear some things up if we can this morning. What is Australia's migration figure for this year?
Well, the net overseas migration figure is published regularly by Treasury.
The question was about the migration planning levels, not the NOM, the net overseas migration numbers, which are not regulated because it includes anyone who intends to reside in Australia for more than 12 months. Again, later in the interview, the same confusion abounds.
So the target was 185. What's the actual number?
Well, I don't have that number right off the top of my head, Karl, as the Health Minister. It's higher than that. Yeah, it's published very regularly by Treasury. We update that report very regularly. It's
would it be
down,
less than
about 40% from the peak?
Would it be less than 500,000?
Yeah, it's substantially less than 500,000.
You can see the Today host is talking about the permanent planning level number, but the Health Minister is still going on about the NOM. So 185,000 is now jumping up to 500,000. It's a little wonder that the public is confused, for all they see is a 185,000 figure being blown up to 500,000 and wondering what the hell is going on. This is creating a lack of confidence in Labor's ability to manage the migration program properly. And this frustration comment said it all.
You can understand this is not your portfolio, but I think in government it's pretty hot in the news right now, and knowing the numbers would be good. And also I think that you are empowering extremist views by doing and saying nothing about it.
Australia deserves to have an immigration minister who actually does the job of an immigration minister and takes the time to look after his portfolio and spend more time in the media selling the 185,000 figure and all its benefits to Australia. But since the Immigration Minister was missing in action, we only have academics who can explain it to the public on their behalf. An article in the Sydney Morning Herald this week by Professor Alan Gamlin of the Australian National University summed it up perfectly. The article is titled, "Australians took to the streets because they were scared by numbers that don't exist." Many protesters were drawn out of their homes because they genuinely believe immigration has reached record-breaking unsustainable levels. And here lies the real problem. Most of them are misinformed. Australia's immigration crisis isn't about numbers, it's about misinformation. Australians took to the streets because they were told to be afraid of numbers that don't exist. He goes on to highlight that some media outlets are quoting the overseas and departure figures from the ABS. This is despite the ABS warnings that the OAD data should not be taken out of context. On the ABS website, it states, multiple media stories have been published this week using overseas arrivals and departures (OAD) data to make commentary on migration numbers. This data does not reflect the official ABS definition of migration and may lead to inaccurate conclusions on migration. And where was the actual immigration minister during all of this confusion? Well, finally he did put out a short press release that most Australians would not have even read. This week the government released the official 189 invitation round results. As we mentioned last week, the examples we found were from various sources and could not be taken literally. Now the official numbers have arrived, we can see that there were not many invitations issued, just 6,887 for the 189 and surprisingly a token 150 for the 491 Australian sponsored stream. I say surprisingly because we've not seen a 491 invitation in this stream since the 23rd of May 2023. And back then only 74 invitations were given. Such a small invitation round will lead to the distinct possibility of another one perhaps before the end of this year. You can check out the results and the lucky occupations, all 130 or so of them. So how are these occupations selected? Well, this is what they call a boutique round. These are meant to be the premier occupations that we need right now, right? Well, almost. This week I had a consultation with a lovely chap who was a telecommunications network planner. You know, those important people who plan where all the cables are going to go in high-rise construction sites and houses. It is an essential construction-related job. But did he get an invitation? No, he did not. In fact, none of them did. However, instrumental musicians did. Now I wonder why that might be. Could it be that our immigration minister is also the Minister for the Arts? Or might it also have something to do with this? Perhaps we'll never know, but I'm going to do some digging. And the other anomaly I hear you say, now don't get me started about tennis coaches, but perhaps an easy answer to this, we desperately want an Australian to win the Australian Open, right? I mean, it has to be far more important than getting houses built. A number of states have been given interim allocation numbers for the 190 and 491 visa sponsorship program so far. Just enough to get the ball rolling for those who have been accepted but waiting for new places to arrive, and some for the extra high demand occupations they wish to give them too. So far, Tasmania has received 156 places and South Australia has received some, but they are not indicating how many. The other states too probably have received them as well, and this information will trickle through in the coming week. In what can only be described as a Trump-style immigration management system, the government has moved to a new bill which will restrict the rights of temporary visa holders being able to present themselves to the Administrative Review Tribunal in person. The bill would amend the Migration Act to require the tribunal to make decisions in relation to applications for review of certain kinds of reviewable migration decisions on the papers without conducting an oral hearing. This will first apply to student visa review applicants, but it will not be just limited to that subclass. The bill will allow any temporary resident visa applicants to be judged solely on a written submission, not oral arguments before the tribunal. In the explanatory statement to Parliament, it states, decisions of this kind are appropriate for review without an oral hearing, having regard to the nature of the issues under review, the low volume and complexity of written materials relevant to the proceedings of this kind, and the temporary and short-term nature of student visas. So much for the open, fair hearing that you should be entitled to, and international students will be wondering what they actually get for their $3,580 application fee. Well, it's been an interesting week in the world of Australian immigration. With just 4 months left till the end of the year, more and more changes are on their way. Make sure you tune in to Australia's most trusted immigration news source. Remember, if you need help, we are always here. You can book a consultation online, or if you're in a hurry, just pick up the phone. As always, take care out there, and I'll see you next time. So bye for now.
Karl, we have a problem in the studio.